cross-platform advertising effectiveness, and I'd like to introduce the moderator, Gayle, who's the CEO and president of the Advertising Research Foundation in the USA, and she'll come up and introduce the panelists.
Great, thank you, Jane. So I work for an organization similar to ICOM, and we do conferences, and what we like to say at times like these is we may not have all the people in the room, but we have the right people in the room. So thank you so much for being here, and I know that you're going to agree with me when you hear these wonderful presentations. One of the great things that ICOM is doing is helping us find our tribe, and I have to say that over the last couple of weeks, and especially the last 24 hours, this is my new tribe. So we've kind of bonded over these great presentations and discussion issues, and there's no better or more important time in the industry than the one that we're in right now to find people, compatriots, and leaders like these gentlemen to wrestle down the issues at hand. So let me quickly introduce the three speakers, and we're going to start with Liam Corcoran, who's a divisional director at EMEA at Research Now in the UK for mobile and digital. Liam is a mobile savant. He was putting mobile tools and solutions and startups together before many of us were even thinking about those things. He's a visionary. You're going to find his presentation very interesting in terms of combining cookie-driven data sources, copy testing, and so what's old is new again, and it's a bit of Mad Men and Math Men all combined. So that will be a treat. And then up after that is Olav Lijnbach. And Olav is a psychologist and a technologist. He is a senior consultant in Amsterdam at GfK. He is part of creating the next generation, literally the next generation, as he'll probably tell you, because he has some family background in the research industry. He loves the Internet of Things, and he actually created GfK's cross-media link, so another entrepreneur and inventor. And he and Menno van der Steen have worked together, and also they're going to share some interesting insights in a study they did with Coca-Cola. And so here we have actually a great example of people collaborating and putting big data sets and unique pieces of ways to think about research and identify consumer insights together that comes through personal partnerships. And Menno is the head of marketing sciences, Mediabrands, the Netherlands, and he characterizes himself as curious, and he's written 3 books. And 20 plus years, he lectures at the University of Amsterdam, and one of his books is Advertising on the Internet, so catch him at what we're going to be running off to after this happy hour, and he'll probably be happy to share that with you. So without further ado, what I'd love to do is introduce Liam to share with you his presentation. We're going to roll through the 3 presentations, and then we're going to do a lively panel discussion. We're going to do what they do in this theater probably. We've stood up for waves, we've stood up for stretch breaks, we've shut our eyes, we've done all kinds of things that got people up on their feet. We're going to do what I think most often, other than coming in and leaving, has been done in this beautiful theater, which is give a standing ovation when we get done with this panel discussion. And we have a dream in our panel that we're actually going to give you 5 minutes back at the end, and it's going to be a sponsored gift by these 3 great companies. So here you go. Do you want this?
Yeah, I'll do that. So thank you very much, you hardy souls, for sticking it out to the end. I appreciate that. So my name's Liam Corcoran. As Gayle said, I'm Divisional Director for Digital across EMEA at Research Now. Research Now is the largest panel provider globally. We have panels in around 37 different markets around the world. And we power the insights for many of the market research agencies, the media agencies, and we work directly with end clients too. Now, what are the kind of key themes and challenges in advertising that we have heard over the last 3 days? And it's really been about reaching the right audience with the right message at the right time, in the right place, and at the right cost. And this is really what I want to talk to you about today. And it's the work that we're doing at Research Now at the moment in helping companies to target their advertising to their audiences, with that right message, in the right places, at the right time, and as cost effectively as possible. So I suppose programmatic buying was introduced to help drive cost efficiencies in the way that media was being purchased across devices. And as we can see, that is actually growing, and it will continue to grow as we go through the next couple of years. But it's not just about, helping to drive efficiencies in the way that media is being bought. But actually, it's also important to help be more efficient in the way that we create our advertising, what message we want to drive through to our audiences, and where we should be placing our advertising across which channels, different devices, and what's going to cost us to be able to do that. So really, the work that we have been doing is working with the agencies to test different messages, to understand which of those messages has the greatest impact. It's about who do we target? How do we find those niche audiences that we want to be able to target with that message? And at what time should we be serving those messages to those audiences? And what is the right price to serve that, to serve those messages as well? Now, so obviously, traditionally, the way that testing of ads was done was obviously by putting different statements within surveys, sending it out to those niche audiences, and seeing which of those messages, resonated with that audience. Which of those messages, was going to cause them to purchase or have some kind of affinity, with that brand. But now we can actually start to do that within live environments as natural as possible. We can actually buy the media ourselves and actually serve it across all the different premium publisher sites. And also we can test where is the best place within a site to serve that ad. What position within those sites is going to have the greatest kind of impact and create greater exposure towards that ad. But also through the programmatic buying that we're able to do ourselves, we can help you to understand how much it's going to cost you to be able to target your ads to that specific audience, through that sites at different times of days. So when it comes to the live campaign, you're going to have a better understanding of, what it is it's going to cost you in order to reach those audiences. Now, where does it all start? So it starts really with our panel. And Research Now has a single source panel, which we're dropping first-party cookies on our panelists every time they interact with us across multiple devices, and we can identify them, whether they are being exposed to that ad, through their laptop or PC, whether it's through their smartphones, tablets, or phablets, and attribute that exposure to them as individuals. But also, because we have a deep understanding of who they are and what their hobbies, their interests, key information about them, we can provide much more a detailed and in-depth profile about them as individuals. So it helps you to understand that the ads that are being served is not only reaching your right audience, but helping you understand that audience a little bit better too. So I'm going to talk through a kind of case study that we conducted for a financial services client. But I just give you a kind of highlight of the methodology that we created and which we carry out today. So it's really about, understanding, first of all, it's around surveying them, really, to understand what devices, what channels, and what time of day that we are most likely or best be able to reach that audience. And at that time, it gives us that opportunity to also, if they haven't already, to kind of install our cookie and as well as our retargeting cookie onto those panelists. And then, obviously, once they have those cookies on their devices, we do all the tag management. We'll tag the campaigns through ourselves, as well as purchasing the media, as well as targeting that media to that audience too. And then what we're doing is we're kind of replicating the actual campaign, but on a much smaller scale. And then obviously serving those ads to those audiences in natural environments across a period of time. And then based on, depending on the sites that they go and visit, then obviously recording the impressions and their exposure to that as well. So really just talking about the case study that I just want to go through, and just to kind of give you some kind of illustration of how we're able to really find niche audiences within the work that we're doing. One of the studies that we ran for a financial services company was to look for active traders who had investable assets of more than $50,000. And really, the aim was to identify which of the creative works the hardest across which digital environment. So whether that's through general news sites or was that through financial news sites. Determine what time of day, as well as which type of device are best fits to be able to communicate that message, to that audience. And then really to survey them and to understand, the brand perception, the purchase intent, for example. So what we did was we had 3 different types of messages around getting them to sign up for a certain bank account. And the 3 messages were sent out across, these different types of sites. So both the general news site and the financial news site. And this was really upfront, really so we can be much more targeted in our approach, before we go ahead with the campaign, to really understand, where is it best to serve that ads, at the right time of the day, across the different channels. And obviously what they kind of indicate, they give us an indication of, when are they most likely to interact with financial services websites, at which time of day, and across different media channels. So that enables us then to, when we're serving the ads, again, to be much more targeted. And also we do that again to understand that across the weekend. So really, where is the best place to be placing this? And then what we find is, through that again is to understanding once we have the exposures, and then really to understand which of those messages, had the greatest impact and resonated most with those audiences. I better speed up as well. But also it's not just about the messages, but it's also understanding how many times you need to expose that audience to those ads before the message starts to resonate with that audience. And I suppose, as you can see as well, it's looking at, so we can see like the convert message was sufficient enough for us to be able to do it once. So a single exposure was enough to resonate that message through to the audience. But for the trial message, you'd have to put that message around 4+ times in front of that audience before any kind of interaction was kind of appreciate that. But also it's like mapping the importance of the message as well. And I suppose what we see is that the engage and the convert message had equal importance, certainly on the financial side, but also on the general side, although they had importance, but obviously it was with different impact as well. I will speed up, I'm sorry. But then and then just finally, I could just kind of cover as well, and this is just really looks at what it costs to be able to target those messages to those audiences across those different sites. So you'll see on the base size of around 584 people, on average, it costs us around $9.30 to be able to target, those messages to those audiences through the New York Times site. So that gives you some kind of indication of what it's likely to cost you when you'll be running the campaign through that live environment. So just to back, can you go back? Did they cut me off?
You can never go back.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's Hotel California. You can go in, but you can't come out. Okay, so now Olav is going to regale us with their study.
Thank you. Can I have the clicker? No problem. Hi. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
If it works, yeah. Okay. Today I'll be co-presenting with Menno van der Steen from Mediabrands, so it's a dual presentation. We'll be taking you through our presentation in 16 minutes, so I hope you can stay awake a little bit longer. I'm getting a little bit more into detail about the technical part of future of cross-platform measurement, and then Menno is going to show you some cases what you can actually do with it. So to the start, I'm going to start with two, I guess, quite broad general slides on big data, or that's why I love the core of this congress, more about smart data, because eventually we'll be collecting more and more data just because we can. We have these mobile devices, we're always on, it's a lot of computing power. They contain sensors, they're social media we use bartering tools like Waze, we give information and we get back some information. So the amount of data that we collect it's growing rapidly, but the biggest challenge we really have is how to monetize this data. And if you put it in a quadrant, is that a lot of different companies monetize the data, of course, differently. Everybody knows Google and Facebook on the top left. They have not so much data. They have a lot of data, but they have small distinctive data from a tremendous large group of people. And on the bottom right, you have research company, which generally have small samples, but a tremendous amount of information about these consumers. But also a lot of different players like retailers. They have loyalty card information, transactional data, how people move around in the stores. They're collecting more and more data just because we can actually at this moment in time. Also, financial companies are collecting more and more data about consumers, and also thinking about new ways to monetize this data, because the ING in the Netherlands, they had a press release about 9 months ago, it was, where they said they wanted to sell the data of their clients to advertisers, which of course caused severe discussions, and they retracted the idea and stopped in general. But they were playing with the idea of selling your bank transactional data to advertisers as well. And of course, there's telecom providers who know a lot about the people, television behavior, but also all the internet behavior that goes around. Now I'm going to go back to media, the cross-media platform advertisers. What we see as well in general, if you wanted to do a cross-media evaluation in the past, traditionally you went to a research company to do so. They knew what to do, and then you did a research, you get results. But now Google is becoming active in this market as well with the Google consumer surveys and the double-click network they have. They could see who's been exposed within their network, and you could have a questionnaire in Android, but also on the internet as well, where you could ask just some funnel questions, brand KPIs. Facebook is building something similar, probably be launched soon as well. And I know, again, in the Netherlands, a KPN, the telecom provider, has its own panel, but they know the TV data, they know the internet data, and they're doing effectiveness studies within their own panel on their own brands now. But they do have an opportunity to enlarge this as well. So you see that these new techniques and new companies collecting a lot of data coming from different angles start coming also into the area of cross-media measurement. But I guess we all have the same challenge within the market, and that's the growth in device use and fragmentation of ecosystems and the fragmentation of different media portals we use, different social media, Facebook is declining, more smaller networks are coming up. So we all have the same challenge, and I guess the challenge for and I'm going back one, for the Google and the Facebook is that they're losing control over what people do, and for the research companies, for us, it's getting more difficult because with lower with fragmented markets, we need larger sample sizes. And then this is a line, the UK, you see that there's an uplift in the three plus devices that people own. It's grown from September from 5 to almost 50%, will grow to 50% this year. In the Netherlands, I saw some figures as well. The average number of devices that people have that can access the internet is 3.5, but that's including game consoles, televisions, etc. So it's really growing rapidly, the number of devices people access the internet. What's GfK solutions to this? The solution is GfK cross-media link. We're building a hyperlane on where we could plug in all different types of data. What you see traditionally on top is where we have our core, our history. It's really single source, passively collected panel data. And to give you an idea of what cross-media link exactly is, we of course have our history of purchase panels. We know what people buy. And then we had a client came up to us and said, well, I want to know the relationship between what people are doing on my platforms on the internet and the advertisements I show them and the purchase behavior. So, well, we had a purchase panel. We included software on their computers, and we knew what people were doing on the internet, collecting a lot of data and only using about 2 to 3% of the data we collect. So a year later it was like, well, hey, we have now the internet data, pretty nice, but actually the largest amount of the money goes to TV. You know, we should include TV in this measurement. So we included TV, and then a few years later that mobile started to grow rapidly. So we wanted to have mobile in there. So cross-media link is one, a more efficient way to gather the data and process the data. Because up to 2 years ago, we were all doing this manually, so we had 6, 7 different data sets and collecting it, putting it into one, and then doing the calculation, taking months sometimes. But then again, also, the best part about the GfK cross-media link is also that we could include different data sets, because the core of cross-media link is watching it from a single source perspective. Single source provides you with richer and deeper insights than aggregated data. You have more granular data when you dig into it, but also the relations in cross-media evaluations are stronger than with aggregated data. So when we insert third-party data, it's also preferably at a single source level. And to give an example of what we plugged in so far, the first thing obviously we did was insert cookie data. So you put cookie data in there and match it on a single source level. Second, we put in retailer data and loyalty data, so you could also see what people bought, but also outside of the panel bought, and make relations between cookie data and retailer data. So you really start connecting all the dots within larger sample sizes than we originally had, because it's really a necessity. And some things we're experimenting with as well is that we have a panel of 300,000 where we put in all the bank transactional data from those people as well. So you could start making new relations between different new types of data. Then out of this hyperlane comes data, but data obviously is worth nothing if you don't do anything with it. But the advantage is that it's all automated quality checks. It's near time coming out of this hyperlane. So you could create automated insights and dashboards, but also custom insights like custom research insights. But still not worth that much. Eventually to answer specific business solutions that our clients play with. And this is where I hand over the mic to Menno.
Thank you, Olav. Clicker. My name is Menno van der Steen. I'm working at Mediabrands. My past was at Airport Schiphol. I did their marketing there, retail, parking, and my passion is internet technology. And that's great because it's a digital age right now. So we work at Mediabrands for multiple clients, global ones, and in the Netherlands, of course, smaller local ones as well. we have a healthy mix there. And of course, all those clients are looking for results. We invest a lot of media budget, and of course, they want to know whether that delivers on their KPIs and what the ROIs are. In the end, we want to get these people moving in the right direction, and that's pretty difficult. And that's also a big challenge in cross-media planning. Everybody has their own cross-media pattern, but we don't know that because reach data is mostly single medium. So we know from the guy in the middle all his TV consumption, and the guy in the back we know his online pattern, listening behavior of the woman on the right, but we don't know the cross-media consumption, and that's a big problem. And there we have the single source panel from GfK. So we see overlaps, we can plan on the most efficient frequency, we can check whether people saw all the different ads that we have. So, for instance, second screening, well, you can do multiple analysis, and I will show you in this presentation, I have six minutes left, a couple of cases that we used. It's just some examples because you can do crazy stuff with this data. You could check whether Facebook fans are more valuable for you on sales or on any other KPI. So we use the GfK data in 3 ways: automated insights, custom insights, and we use the raw data to do specific modeling. We use it in our own planning tools. So 2 years ago, the media efficiency panel went live by GfK. Point Logic, you see that on the left-hand corner, asked us to do the beta testing to produce a media planning tool based on this data. And it allows us to do online video optimization versus TV, etc. So really a cross-media optimization tool. At Mediabrands, we used to have Connection Panel. We still have that. It's the biggest global survey on media consumption. We use it in our CAT tool, channel allocation tool, but we also rebuilt CAT to also handle passively measured media consumption data from the GfK panel or for any other data supplier. Digging deeper and doing bigger analysis on this type of data means that you need different people in your agency. So SPSS, Excel is not enough anymore to handle all this data. So you need R, and you need Amazon Web Services to have the capacity to crunch the data to a capacity that you can really do something with it. One of the examples you can download online is a cross-device video and TV consumption report we recently launched based on all the TV viewing data that we have. I have to say video viewing data because it's online, in-app. So here you see YouTube being the most dominant online video platform in the Netherlands, followed by our local BBC, then Tumblr, and you see Netflix on the 5th position. And red is app behavior. The gray is youtube.com, and the overlap, you see that as well. These types of information are really valuable. Here you see people watching minutes a day. So you see linear watching in blue, and in green you see delayed watching, so paused or recorded. And you see, of course, well, what you would expect, that youngsters aren't watching TV that much anymore, and delayed watching is growing over time. So go online and you can download this report. A short case on Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is a big believer of TV. And they just asked us, okay, how valuable would online video be in combination with TV? So we dig into the purchase panel of GfK. We also have the passive watching behavior of pre-rolls and TV. And we also know from this panel when they bought Coca-Cola. So we could crunch into this and see what the effectiveness would be of TV, pre-roll, and combinations of both. So some results. This was pretty important finding that TV and pre-roll are very important and have the highest impact on sales. and pre-roll was third, so that was pretty interesting to see. You also can dig down into multiple buyer profiles. So at the right you see the heavy Coca-Cola buyer, medium buyers, light buyers, and you can see whether no media, TV, pre-roll, TV and pre-roll has impact. And you can elaborate on that and change your strategy based on these types of insights. And this is the last sheet of this case. You can also drill down on different age profiles. Here you see the younger, the most important pre-rolls are. Well, anyway, so this is an extremely rich source, and some of the issues we are dealing with at the moment is that we have to tackle lots of issues like here on this sheet. We have to tackle privacy issues. We as an agency have to invest in big data platforms and place to have the capacity to do this type of analysis. We have to invest in automation because it's way too expensive to do this kind of like a one-off analysis over and over again. So you have to automate this as well. So maybe some of these we can take into our discussion as well. So thank you for your time. Last presentation.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so we'll get our little discussion going here. Liam, I want to start with you and ask you how do, in this era of being able to quantify everything, right? And this is kind of a madman, mathman kind of question, right? How do you see the ability to engineer in serendipity into this programmatic world? How do we actually help the C-suite answer their business question on how do I drive growth in my business?
So I think that comes with as I was talking about in my presentation, is really around the testing up front. So it's really helping us really helping the brands to be able to tailor their messages more effectively, to their audiences, making sure that when they are serving those ads or buying that media, they're buying it across the sites where they know that their audience is going to be, and that they're serving it across the right time of the day, and helping them become much more cost effective in the way that they are serving those ads too. So I think doing all the upfront testings rather than, I suppose, putting it into blind faith and hoping that, if we buy it across these sites, our audiences may be there, we don't know. So I think we can be much more effective in the way that we plan our ad campaigns before they actually go live.
Great, thank you. And Menno and Olav, talk about skills for a minute. You teach actually at the university, Menno and Olav. We talked about this whole psychologist-technologist kind of combo. What skills are going to be needed to be successful going forward?
Well, that's for sure. It's math and it's being an analyst. I think the future for marketeers is really being able to dive into data yourself using Tableau or whatever other tool, just to play around with it and find the right insights.
Yeah, my answer is probably going to be said as a psychologist, because these are contradictory traits you need. You need to love data, you need to understand data and technology and what it means, because research is becoming more and more like IT development. It's more Scrum, it's more Agile. So research is changing when you're working on big data, but you still need to clearly understand the client needs. And therefore you need to understand the market and have a broader perspective on the market. And I think these two are hard to find within one person. And I think that will be the main challenge, to find the right people that understand both of it.
Adding to you talked about madman and mathman. Those are coming together, of course. So we also need people able to come up with the right hypothesis, because otherwise you don't know what to do and what to analyze. So you can analyze endlessly, driving up cost and without any results. So yeah, that's why we have both the creative guys, and of course they have to understand technology and have to be data minded. And those are really scarce as well. And at the other side, the econometrics that are that have communicational skills, etc., understand business, are interested in it. Those are really scarce as well. So we have two blood types that we would like to work together and would like to hire, but those are the ones that are the hardest to get.
Yeah, a colleague of mine says it's a combination of the pocket protector and the pocket hanky, right? We're trying to combine those. Okay, any question from the audience? Anybody have a question for our panel? Okay, then I'm just going to ask you quickly to spin through each one of you and say, what's the future going to look like? Kind of a small question to end the conference with, right? Just a quick vision of the future, especially with the lens of the work that you've done, forging unique partnerships, combining primary and syndicated data. You're called a data scientist, right? You're a visionary. So I'm going to start with you, because you're the visionary.
Thanks very much. So what's the future going to look like? I think certainly from our side is the next initial step is really being able to measure in-app ad effectiveness and how we do that. I think it's then moving into how we pick up data, through the router, depending on which country you come from, and how we able to measure, people's behavior, what ads they're being exposed to, how much data they're consuming across different devices, through the router itself. So that will give us a better indication of what people are actually doing with those devices and give us much more data to be able to analyze. But I think they're probably the initial steps of where the industry is heading, certainly from our side, on how we are able to better understand our audiences before we start to target them with our ads.
Okay, well, you didn't have your last slide, but you've left your colleagues each with 15 seconds. All right, so 15 seconds in honor of Andrea.
Yeah, I keep it short. I think from my perspective, as a media agency perspective, we are entering 3 domains. That's data and consultancy, development of content, which is really important because everybody wants to skip advertising, so advertisers should be part of the content instead of around the content. So content and the rest will be programmatic. All buying will be programmatic.
Very short, because time's up. I think it will be more about partnerships as well. What I've learned with working on the data is that nobody knows what you can do, and if you think you can, tomorrow it's different. So it's more about partnerships, and I guess more like these activities we had this week to share information, share knowledge, and connect with each other. So
Fabulous.